A simple picture has captivated the world this week. Pope Francis embraced a severely disfigured man. Now the new pope is making headlines again. It was announced this week that Pope Francis will receive Russian President Vladimir Putin on November 25th, a meeting that is being watched by millions and could mend Catholic-Orthodox relations. So certainly a big discussion right there. And Dr. Bart, you were just telling me, or actually Dr. Lopez, you were telling me you were in St. Peter's Square, and just what this new pope is bringing.
Yeah, I was amazed. I mean, I had grown up with Pope John Paul II, and when he came here to New Jersey Giant Stadium, and that was packed, and it was about 80,000 people in the stadium at the time. And this summer in Rome, on a regular Wednesday, which is when he has his general audience, it was packed with about 50,000 people there. It was amazing.
Yeah, you know, I always talk about a winning personality on this show, and this guy certainly has a winning personality. I think he's representing the church so well. I think he's projecting himself as a real person, and it's not an act. He believes in people and helping people, and we all relate to that.
And he's not pushing people away, I think. I think he's embracing everybody. I think it's certainly very interesting to see, and that meeting with Vladimir Putin will be very interesting.
Well, yeah, and he has a different attitude. I mean, a lot of times, you know, you think of the Pope, and it's someone you can barely touch and someone you can barely even look at because, you know, they're so close to God. But with this Pope, he's carrying his own bags. He's got a kid coming up, sitting on his lap, and he's right there, you know, during, his service. And then, you've got this, and he's kissing the disfigured man. I mean, he's the people's Pope, truly.
And 1 billion people viewed that picture, so that's how popular he has become.
Good for the church, very good.
Absolutely. Well, the feds also announced this week they have a new target, that is trans fats. That's right, the U.S. Drug and Food Administration says partially hydrogenated oil is no longer safe. On their hit list, frozen desserts, fast food, and microwavable popcorn and baking mixes. Of course, we knew none of these things were probably too good for you.
Yeah, but thanks for the news flash. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's not safe after we've all ingested, like 80 gallons of it in our life. Thank you.
So I guess it's going to be against the law, I guess, almost, if the feds are going after it. But is this too much into our rights? What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely don't think so. I'm a big food person, and I think we need to eat healthy food. And there's so much poison and toxins and terrible ingredients in food. I think this is good, and we should know every ingredient that we're eating and drinking.
We actually agree on something today.
Yay, all right.
I think that anything that's overwhelmingly in one direction, we should support. And obviously, this food is not good for us.
Well, some of the fast food companies, though, have stopped using a lot, like Burger King stopped in 2008. I was reading up on that. But some of the other companies are going to have to switch. But it is going to be, business also. It can hurt some of the businesses.
Well, there's so much choice, and what's important about this, it's kind of pointing you in a direction. If you choose to live a healthy lifestyle and want to get the right nutrition to keep you healthy, then here's what you should be taking. So, I mean, at least.
But Bloomberg took a lot of heat after he went after the soft food industry, the soft food drink industry, I should say. So do you think that the feds are just overstepping their bounds?
I think that's a little different, though. I mean, that's like the amount. He's telling you exactly what to do. This is poison for your body. This is bad for you. I mean, this is, when he's saying, oh, it's too much sugar, well, it's up to us if we want to ingest that. And he's saying, now you have to buy 2 cups instead of 1 for the same amount. That was a little bit loony. I think this is a different situation.
Too much positive factors here going in this direction, really. Yeah.
All right, on to our third topic in the lightning round. Autumn weekends, they wouldn't be anything without football, but this week the Miami Dolphins harassment scandal is exploding the NFL's secret locker room culture. And a sport that pays players like kings and sends them into violent battles each week, some say suspended player Richie Incognito's racially charged slurs are just some of the harsh realities of the NFL workplace. True or not true? Dr. Bart?
Not true. It's ridiculous. What happens with bullies is that they get more attention, they gain power and control, and this guy wants to be the meanest, baddest guy in town, and he wants all his teammates to rally around him for that kind of behavior. It's outrageous. He should be suspended. And
he has been suspended, but the players on the Miami Dolphins, they are actually backing him. So you're seeing a little bit of a division, and a lot of people are saying, hey, this is our world, this is the NFL. Dr. Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, there's this culture within the NFL of machismo in a sense, which is a little too much testosterone there, and you hear about the hazing that happens there, and these guys have it since basically Pee-wee football all the way through the NFL. But I mean, this is a different world we're living in right now. I mean, and these guys are role models, whether they want to believe it or not. I mean.
I think it's the one thing about, you know, kind of bullying and hitting on each other. Okay, well, that's what they do for a living, so I don't have a problem with that. But if it's racial slurs, got a problem with that. I think that's different than the physical, whatever they're doing. They want to roughhouse, have fun. You want to beat each other up? Great.
I think it's racial, but it's even more than that. It's the bullying and the constant harassment of this guy, racial or not. I mean, at some point, it's beyond the pale of reason, and that's why I think he should really stay suspended.
Well, he is over the top for sure.
Yeah, over the top.
No doubt.
Well, they also said that, but within the locker room, that you will have this in nearly every locker room in the NFL,
Well,
and in sports arenas also.
Especially with rookies. I mean, and you have older players who think they should be the dominant figure, and they need to treat and beat up on rookies so that they'll be tougher and meaner and get the message. But at this point, it's too extreme.
Well, what about, I mean, how do you overcome this, though? Because you got all these little kids, like, looking at these players, and these are their heroes. So, you know, we talk about, you know, the bullies in the school, but now we're seeing the bullies in
Yeah, but if it's welcome, I mean, see, I think that's the big difference here. If it's welcome, they're beating up on each other, and that's part of it, part of the culture, and they get a bruise here and there, fine. But if somebody is offended because they say something racially terrible, that's different.
But this is a violent sport. Do they need to be violent in order
They're
to go out
probably letting
there?
off the testosterone, you know what I mean, because of what they do.
Well, to answer your question, no, because there are many role models in football. There are many people who don't behave like this, and they're terrific guys, and they
But they can
present
step out
themselves
of the
very
locker
well.
room. They don't have to be there in
I mean,
there.
you can be tough without being like this.
Okay, so what does the NFL have to do right now? We're going to put on our PR hats right now because they've got guess they got a little bit of a problem this week, but okay, Dr. Bart?
They need a general policy that makes some good sense. You can't harass, and you can't certainly use racial slurs, and you need to be a responsible party in the locker room as well.
Dr. Lopez?
I mean, right now the question of masculinity and everything is evolving and changing. I mean, these guys are role models. All these little kids are buying their shirts and putting them on and their hats and everything. So they have to, you know, shape up.
When you say the role of masculinity,
it's changing in America. I mean, it's obviously I'm not the best guy to comment on it.
Just give me a little bit more on that because I was kind of curious on your thoughts.
I think violence obviously is something that shouldn't be accepted. Where we have all these programs nationally started, funded by states, by the federal government of anti-bullying, anti-things, that's not the way to be. You know, the understanding each other, working with each other. And if you have these guys, these professional athletes that are considered by our culture and society as successful individuals, and they're acting this way, what kind of message does that send out?
If they like it, and if they're doing it with each other and they're just roughhousing, I have no problem with that.
But
That's
it's
up to
spilling
them.
out.
But if it's unwelcome, that's a
Right.
completely different thing. Now that's bullying.
Well,
When they're
that was
roughhousing,
what
it
happened
isn't.
on this particular case, and
Yeah, but that particular case is taking it into the culture, and they want to keep their culture. So there is a difference, I think.
all right, well, we're going to go to our fourth topic here in the lightning round, and slightly smaller than T-Rex, but older by 10 million years. Scientists say they have discovered a new dinosaur. So, Dr. Lopez, we are actually going to go right to you. Dr. Bart, I'm not sure if you have a comment on this, psychologically speaking. You know. But, you know, Dr. Lopez, first of all, my question for a scientist is, how do they know that this T-Rex or T-Rex's uncle is 10 million years older? I mean,
Well, it's actually 80 million years old, and they do something called carbon dating, and from that they can
but
figure
how old
out.
is carbon dating to be?
Well, and every carbon that's in the bones that they found takes so many thousands of years to go away. So they look at how many of those special carbons are left
Do you
in the
think
bones.
that's accurate? I mean,
Absolutely,
seriously. Okay.
absolutely. I mean, that's how we date it. We date everything basically that way. So,
What's the apparatus that they used to do that? I mean, aren't you kind of fascinated? It's like, well, what did it do? Is it like a microscope, or is it they dig something out, or?
They're just looking for, they basically look for the amount of this type of carbon. So carbon has many what we call isotopes, and it breaks apart its nucleus.
Thank you,
then,
Bill Nye, the Science Guy. 101 here.
Yeah, thank goodness you're on this one.
Good thing.
Well, you know what? I mean, they've always fascinated. I think sharks and dinosaurs have always been captured the imagination of children, but even adults. Obviously, they're the biggest and the baddest and things like that. But Dr. Bart, just comment a little bit just about why these creatures continue to fascinate Americans 80 million years later.
No, I would say everybody, all children.
It's just fascinating. It makes us think about the world and who we are and what part of it are we in this whole process. And I think that's what it's all about. Really.
What I think is fascinating is how old and what a blip on the screen we are. Our lives is like a second.
All of that.
It's amazing how old it is. How can it be that old?
Well, from dinosaurs to philosophy. Wow, we're getting pretty deep here on Fresh Outlook. Well, tell me, this was an unusual discovery and sort of a pretty kept secret. They unveiled this, and
It was discovered in 2009, so this is just, I mean, southern Utah has become like the place to go if you're a paleontologist into dinosaur hunting. This is the place to go there. So this is, I would say, not the uncle, because it's about 10 million years older, so I'd say the great-great-great-great-grandfather of the T-Rex. A little bit smaller, but this is showing what's significant about this within the scientific field is that it was the first dinosaur that was looking straight forward. All the other dinosaurs had their eyes on the side of their head.
That's interesting.
So this was the first kind of carnivore meat eater that was really looking forward and really then evolved into the T-Rex that we know from Jurassic Park and Hollywood and everywhere else.
And why is Utah become like the go-to place? Like, was it like the climate? I mean,
they're just, the excavations just started there recently, and they found this one particular part there that's just booming with bones left over there. Turns out that Utah 80 million years ago was a tropical paradise that was perfect for dinosaurs to be living there at the time.
That's fascinating. I know that you can even take children there to go on dinosaur digs, which I was actually going to do with my nephew. So. Sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe we'll go do that with a fresh outlook, go on a dinosaur dig. How about that?